How many wars can you think of? Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria. What do these wars and events have in common? People have been vehemently opposed to wars and intervention because they feel that we shouldn't be involved in other countries around the world. Uh, how many of you fully understand why we fought these wars and who was personally affected? I'm about to finish my degree in political science with a concentration in international relations. I've studied why we've gone to war for a while now. It is in our vital national security interests to intervene and to nation build throughout the world because we're at the end of history. We need to keep us safe and we need to help others throughout the world. Now, while many people are opposed to intervention in war, it's important to understand why we do these things. Now, it's also important for me to share that I have studied the philosophies of Drs. Zbigniew Brzezinski, Brent Scowcroft, Condoleezza Rice, Madeleine Albright, Hillary Clinton, Jim Baker, and Henry Kissinger. Now, every one of these secretaries of state and foreign policy experts have developed a foreign policy that has led to some type of intervention. Intervention is not partisan. Both Republicans and Democrats practice nation building around the world. And it doesn't matter whether you worked for Ronald Reagan or Jimmy Carter, Barack Obama, or even now President Trump. Intervention occurs with all administrations. Now, the common theme with all of these is that they see it as a chess game. Foreign policy is very diligent and methodical. They weigh the possible outcomes, understanding the possibilities of non-intervention. And these Secretary of States and foreign policy experts have shaped my view of the world today. Now that you understand where I come from and what helped shape my view of the world, let's take a moment to talk about the world being at the end of history. According to Francis Fukuyama, a world-renowned foreign policy expert who wrote the book The End of History, he writes that democracy and capitalism are the best forms of government and economy, and that all others have failed throughout history. He says we're at the end of history because these pinnacle forms of government and economic theory are the best options for the entire world. So to break it down, think about it like an aircraft. Over the last centuries, we've developed aircraft from the blimp to the airplane. And the last thing we know is the airplane. That's the best option we have. We continue to make improvements to it. We refine the airplane, but the airplane is the last best hope, right? So in the same way, the pinnacle of governments is democracy and capitalism. While we have to share it with the world, and there's still events like wars that happen, but it is in pursuit of spreading the ideal form of government. Now, it's in our vital national security interest that we focus on helping those around the world. We know, and it's a fact, that when democracy is spread around the world, people are safer and happier. And time after time, we know that it leads to a less chaotic world when democracy and capitalism are in effect. Now, opponents argue that we should just stay out of other countries' business. They argue that it is not our job to be the world police. The fallacy here lies in how people view the world. People with this conceptual view tend to understand it as a zero-sum game, when it's actually a three-dimensional chess game. When you look at Syria, for instance, millions of people are dying and starving, and it is a hotbed for terrorists to settle and grow. If they were a democracy and the people had a buy into their government, the odds of terroristic association decreased significantly. As Dr. Zbigniew Brzezinski told NPR in 2002, the United States must continue to be the fair and balanced mediator around the world. Now, for all these reasons, I can confidently say we must intervene and nation build around the world. When you understand the overall picture of why we do things, it's easier to understand the necessity of intervention. It is in our vital national security interest to intervene and nation build throughout the world because we are at the end of history. We need to keep us safe and we need to help others. As Henry Kissinger writes in his book, World Order, When we proclaim war, it is not just to punish enemies, but to improve the lives of people in the country. It doesn't matter which country we have intervened and sought to nation build. Every single effort was for the greater good of the world order. We must continue to look forward to create a better world for everyone to live in. While we may not agree with certain motives, we must understand that we're a global community and must work together for the greater good of humanity, even if it means being the world police.